Thank you for joining us today for this virtual town hall for our students and their families. I want to start out by thanking our students for your resilience and courage to continue to pursue your dreams and make your education a priority. Thank you for following the CDC guidelines, holding each other accountable to those guidelines, and doing what is necessary to stay on campus. I know this semester was not what you all hoped for, but I am thankful we are able to return to campus and have a wonderful fall semester. I also thank your families for all the support you have provided during these challenging times. Providing a quality education for our students and the health and safety of our students, employees, and guests were our top priorities. For those of you who returned to campus, you saw the many changes we made to our campus to ensure the health and safety of our students, faculty, and staff. Those changes will be maintained during the spring semester. As long as the CDC guidelines are in place, we will continue to wear our face mask, social distance, and clean and sanitize. Tonight's town hall event is to provide information on wrapping up the fall semester, critical tasks you will need to complete prior to spring semester, along with their deadlines, and how to stay active and healthy during your extended holiday break. I have invited two of my colleagues to provide this important information. Our ECSU Provost, Dr. Farrah Ward, and our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Dr. Karrie Brown. If you have questions during this session, please email those questions to vikingcampus@ecsu.edu. And Compass has two S's, COMPASS. Again, vikingcampus@ecsu.edu. We will try to answer as many questions as we can immediately following the presentations from Dr. Ward and Dr. Brown. So now I will turn it over to Dr. Brown for our first presentation. Well, I'm sorry, Dr. Ward, our provost, for our first presentation.
Thank you so much, Chancellor Dixon. I'll start by doing a little recap of the fall semester. As you all know, we began the fall semester 1 week earlier on August 11th instead of our initial start date of August 18th. We also did not celebrate fall break, Labor Day, in order for us to end the semester on Tuesday, November 24th, ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. About 41% of our courses for the fall semester were offered online, and about 59% were either offered face-to-face or using a hybrid model. In order to support students who were still experiencing challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic, ECSU did establish the pass-fail option, which included students' options to either take a course as pass, low pass, or fail for the fall semester. Students will receive grades for each of their course and will have the option to retain the grade that they received in the course or to opt in to the low pass, pass, fail option. Students may choose none, some, or all of their courses as pass, low pass, fail. Students have until January 29th, 2021 in order to opt in to the pass-fail option. Students are strongly encouraged to speak with their academic advisor before they select the pass, low pass, fail option, because once a student selects that option is final. For the spring 2021 semester, we will begin the semester 1 week late on January 19th. We were initially scheduled to begin on January the 12th, but we are currently going to start 1 week late on January the 19th. While we will not have a spring break, we will celebrate 2 days off in April, April 2nd, and Monday, April 5th. Similar to the fall semester, about 45% of our courses will be offered online and 55% of our courses will be offered either 100% face-to-face or using a hybrid model. As the Chancellor indicated, we will continue the similar protocols as we did in the fall semester. We will have room signage where we're social distancing, seating will be 6 feet apart, classrooms will be cleaned multiple times a day. While students will not be able to take all of their courses online if they're offered face-to-face on campus, because we are part of the UNC system, students may take courses online at our sister institutions through the UNC Online Exchange Program. In order for a student to participate in the UNC Online program, they will have to complete a transient study form and submit it to the registrar's office to get approval prior to enrolling in the course. Students who have specific need accommodations, whether it's an illness or any other situation, may actually apply for those accommodations by contacting Miss Felicia Brown, who's the Director of Student Accessibility Services. Her telephone number is 252-335-3642. They will need to submit a formal request if they're requesting accommodations and submit appropriate documentation. If the accommodation is approved by Ms. Brown, Ms. Brown will submit paperwork to Academic Affairs, and we will notify each of the students' instructors. Receiving accommodation does not necessarily mean that a course will be moved to online, 100% online. What it does mean is that we will create some type of accommodation so that the student would not have to come to class on campus if it is approved. Chancellor Dixon, those are all of my updates from the Division of Academic Affairs.
Thank you so much, Provost Ward. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Karrie Brown, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs.
Good evening. As the Chancellor already mentioned, a word of thanks to all of our students and family members for the support and the good choices that you made during this past semester. If our spring semester is going to be as successful or better than the fall, it certainly will take the same level of commitment and support from each one of you. So we thank you in advance for your contribution to our institutional process. And over the next few minutes, I want to share with you some updates for your planning ahead of spring 2021. For new and transfer students, orientation is being facilitated virtually again. That will be held on January the 15th. Please be sure to check your email for the specifics related to how you access your virtual sessions. As it relates to move-in and housing, we have determined that re-entry testing will be conducted on all residential students. As such, the move-in process will be facilitated over a series of days, beginning January 14th and concluding on January the 18th. The process itself calls for negative COVID-19 test results prior to your being allowed to move into your residence hall assignment. We are encouraging each of you to take a test prior to your return, as those test results can be provided on your scheduled move-in date. Please note that the results you provide must have been garnered from a medical practice not more than 3 days or 72 hours prior to your arrival to campus. If you do not have test results to provide, or if for some reason your results fall outside the 3-day, 72-hour window prior to your arrival, Student Health Services will conduct re-entry testing on you prior to your being cleared to proceed to your residence hall. Let me reiterate, you must have a negative COVID-19 test result before you are allowed to proceed to your residence hall. Students should be expecting detailed instructions on when your scheduled return date for move-in will be. Many of you have already received those. You received those at the moment in which you checked out of your residence hall in the fall. But please continue to check your email over the break for any updates. If your COVID-19 test returns positive on the date of move-in, students will not be allowed to move into their residence hall assignment. Instead, you will be required to quarantine for the recommended time frame based on CDC guidelines. Therefore, if for some reason on the date of your move-in, you are experiencing symptoms consistent with COVID-19, please do not come to campus. Instead, feel free to contact the Dean of Students office at 252-335-2477 or email deanofstudents@ecsu.edu. You can inform us of your status so we can communicate to Housing and Residence Life so we can hold your room, the Division of Academic Affairs so that we might be able to hold your schedule, and we'll also coordinate communication with Student Health Services so that you might have the necessary health support. Again, if on the date of your move-in, you are experiencing symptoms consistent with COVID-19, you're encouraged not to come to campus. Instead, proceed to your medical provider in order to be tested and remain home until you garner those test results. In the meantime, if you contact the Dean's office, we will provide you the necessary support from a distance to ensure that your room assignment and your classes are held appropriately and to provide you the support that you need. The move-in process itself is designed to be as safe as possible, and it considers the limits to the amount of individuals who can be in their residence hall at any given time. It's meant to ensure that the process is as efficient as it can be. As such, the following guidelines for move-in have been created. We will require the use of masks by students and their guests. Move-in appointments are being assigned to each resident in order to ensure that there's minimal congestion and social distancing. Additionally, we ask you to be strategic again this semester in what you choose to bring so that you ensure your move-in can happen within the allotted time frame that's being provided to you. Each student will be able to bring 2 guests for move-in, but remember, they also must adhere to the guidelines related to the appointment time, the use of PPE, and also being strategic about what you actually bring. For returning students, all move-in appointments were already communicated upon your exit at the conclusion of the fall semester. For new and transfer students, as your room assignment is communicated, your community director is emailing you individually to communicate your scheduled move-in date. Reminder emails related to your particular scheduled move-in date and time will be sent to all students the first week of January 2021. If for some reason after January the 8th, you have not received your appointment date and time, please reach out to the Office of Housing and Residence Life at 252-335-3761, and the staff there will respond to your request. Special note, if you opted out of housing in the fall semester, and now you want to return to housing for spring semester, you will not have to pay a second housing application fee, as the fee you already paid prior to fall semester actually covers your ability to be assigned to a room in both fall and spring of the same academic year. But if you are planning on returning for spring and you canceled your housing in the fall, you must contact the Department of Housing and Residence Life via phone or email in order to request a spring room assignment. Because you canceled your housing in the fall, you're not guaranteed the same room assignment that you were originally assigned to, but our staff will do its very best to accommodate your request based on the current availability within our housing inventory. Housing and Residence Life can be contacted again at 252-335-3761 or by email at ecsuhousing@ecsu.edu. Just as in the fall, within our residence halls, common areas, lounges, computer labs, and suites and apartments have had furniture removed. We are doing deep cleaning on the residence halls as we speak to ensure that they are clean and ready for your return. We have a plan in place to increase the cleaning within the residence hall, just as we did in the fall semester. And that includes individual restroom cleaning within your residence hall space, and that will be on a bi-weekly basis. Remember, it will take a collective effort among each of us to ensure the safety and wellness of our entire campus community. For the spring, just as in the fall, there will be no guests allowed within our residence halls, not from the outside, not even room-to-room visitation, because we are trying our very best to keep every member of our campus community safe. As it relates to testing, we do have a testing program that we are operating on our campus that involves surveillance testing, where we will specify specific days and times in which we would like you to come over to be tested, so we might be able to mitigate the spread of the virus. If for some reason you test positive, we do have quarantine space on our campus, but that is limited. And so we are encouraging our students to make the very best decisions once you return. The use of PPE will be required for spring semester, just as in the fall. And even our dining services will operate just as it has been during the fall semester as well, 50% occupancy. We expect and anticipate that our food service provider will provide to you the same nutritious meals that they always have. And you'll be able to gather within your individual room to eat your meal, or you can choose to eat within the dining facility. But just know the seating capacity will be limited. Student programming will be offered from a virtual pick up and go opportunity operation standpoint, just as in the fall semester. And we are watching the guidelines that are being placed upon us by the governor's executive orders in terms of informing our decisions from there. At this point in time, those are all of the updates that I have for you now. Chancellor, it's back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. And I just want to say our students, faculty, and staff were just outstanding this fall semester in following these guidelines presented by Dr. Brown. And we are doing all we can, as he stated, to make sure that we follow the same type of format structure to keep everyone safe in the spring as we did in the fall. And we learned a lot of lessons as well from the fall, what worked and what didn't work. And so the spring semester, I'm optimistic that our students will be able to stay the entire spring semester as long as they continue to build this culture of expectation. And that culture of expectation is holding each other accountable for wearing your mask, social distancing, washing your hands, and abiding by all the CDC guidelines that Dr. Brown mentioned as well. And that's the way that we're on the path to a successful spring semester, just as we saw in the fall. So thank you, students, for holding each other accountable, and parents, family members, thank you for holding your child, your student accountable for doing the right thing while here on the ECSU campus. So at this point, we will start with questions. And do remember, if you have a question based on any information you heard this evening, please email your question to Viking Compass, and that's Compass, COMPASS, at ECSU.edu. Email us now your question, because we're trying to take as many as we can within the hour before we conclude the session. So I will go over to the chat to see if we have questions coming in. Okay, our first question I see is, why are coaches making it mandatory for players to return for the spring semester? Well, thank you for that question. It's a really good question. And as of now, we are operating based on what we know today. Could that change? Yes. It could change tomorrow. It could change a week from now, depending upon how quickly this virus continues to spread. However, the Department of Athletics is planning for a safe return for action for our student athletes in the winter and spring sports. Just as we are following the protocols for all students, our student athletes are being held to the same protocols plus the established protocols from the NCAA, the CIAA, and as I mentioned, ECSU. So in order to successfully implement this concept, student athletes being on campus provides an opportunity to consistently test our student athletes and educate them on the importance of the 3 W's. And as Dr. Brown said, what we saw, even with our student athletes that were not in competitive play in the fall, the surveillance testing was very beneficial, and we're going to continue to do that. So when you think about from the standpoint of athletics, their health and their wellness, their mental health, their success at ECSU, we are anticipating their return just as we are for all students, and we are putting them in a position to be supported to make sure that they are safe and well during the spring semester. As things change, parents, family members, you will be notified. As I said at the start of my comments, it's still an area of some uncertainty, and we will do all we can to be transparent and to make sure that our student athletes, all students, our faculty, our staff are safe and well to the best of our ability. So thank you so much for that question. Now let me see if there is another question. Okay, another question here is, will we still be able to live within the residence halls if our classes are online during the spring semester? And I will turn that over to Dr. Brown and Dr. Ward to provide your perspectives on that question.
So the answer to the question, quite simply, is yes. We made a decision in the fall semester to support our mode of instruction to ensure that students could take advantage of living on campus and being close to the services and supports that exist on our campus, while also taking online courses. So we will not be making a shift from that for this semester. So you will be able to live within the residence halls if all of your classes are online during the spring semester.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. And Dr. Ward, do you have anything to add in regards to the academic experience for this question?
I concur with Dr. Brown. We recognize that some of the courses that we are offering online for various reasons may not have been the initial mode of instruction chosen by the students, but it's the only section for the particular course. And so for that reason, Dr. Brown and myself have made a conscious effort to make sure that students are not penalized. Those who do want to live on campus, even if their courses are 100% online, will be able to do that. In addition, we will still have resources on campus, tutoring, as well as the library open, and continue to do all we can to support students who are enrolled in the spring semester.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ward, for that insight as well. If you have a question, please email VikingCompass, COMPASS, @ECSU.edu. We are happy to answer any question you have. No question is a dumb question. No question, all questions are valued because we want to make sure that everyone is on the same page, especially as we welcome our students back in the spring. So please email your questions and we'll be happy to answer those. But as we wait a couple of minutes to see if we have additional questions, just wanted to say to the entire campus community, but specifically our students, this was not an easy task. These are unprecedented times filled with uncertainty, and our students were resilient, and they were able to be patient with us on many occasions in transitioning to the online instructional space. And they did so in conjunction with their faculty members who were also, some of them, experiencing this for the first time. And so during these times, these are times that we have to stick together, work together to be successful. And we were able to do that. And the president of the UNC system, Peter Hans, acknowledged ECSU for the great work that we put in minimizing the spread of COVID on our campus. So for that, I am thankful and I am grateful for everyone coming to the table, being on the same accord and building a culture of expectation. I do see that we have one more question. If we don't get tested before moving in, then when would we be tested? Would it be the same day of move in? Is the second part of that question. So I will turn it over to Dr. Brown to address that question.
Yes, if you come to the campus and have not been able to garner test results prior to your arrival, we will test you on the date of your scheduled move-in. So when you show up to campus, before you are allowed to go to your residence hall, you will be tested at that point in time. You'll have to wait for your results. to return negative, at which point in time, if they return negative, we will send you on to your particular residence hall for you to follow the check-in process. So yes, we will test you the same day of your scheduled move-in date if you're not able to garner your test results ahead of time. But we are truly encouraging each student, if you can, to get tested ahead of time, because that ensures that we'll be able to have a very efficient process. It will cut down on any sort of delays that you might experience on the date of your scheduled move-in.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. For those of you who have just joined us, we have presented information about the student return to campus for the spring semester. Dr. Karrie Brown, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, provided insight on the move-in process to the residence halls, and our Provost, Dr. Farrah Ward, provided insight on the academic calendar and the expectations for the spring semester, as well as conclusion of this fall semester. And if you have questions, please email us at Viking, no S, Viking Compass, COMPASS, so 2 S's in Compass, at ECSU.edu. So we are now addressing questions, and I'll go back to see what we have here. Okay, our next question is visitation still not allowed? Dr. Brown?
There will be no visitation in the spring semester, no room-to-room visitation, no visitation from external guests as well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Brown. Our next question is for students who wish to get tested on campus before they move into their residence halls. Are they expected to go straight to health services, and will health services be open during all the time students are expected to move in?
So we are developing a plan. Our plan is actually already developed, but there will be a specific way in which we instruct you to come into campus, so that you might be able to go through the testing zone that will be created and managed by Student Health Services. So you will not go straight to student health. When you get here, you will follow the direction that's given to you by those who are standing there to direct you. We'll be able to give you even more detailed information on this during our next town hall, which is at the beginning of January, prior to your return to campus.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. And I'm also glad that you mentioned that, because we will have another town hall, as he mentioned, in January, to reiterate some of these things that we're discussing tonight, so that everyone's on the same page. We're just having this town hall early because we want you to go ahead and start thinking and planning, and giving you ample time to do so for the return in the spring. So thank you, Dr. Brown, for that response. This next question is for Provost Ward. Will all classes be online for spring 2021?
All classes will not be offered online for the spring semester. As I indicated, 45% of the classes will be offered 100% online. The remaining 55% of courses will be offered either totally face-to-face or using a hybrid model. So no, all classes will not be offered online in the spring semester.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ward. Our next question, for the people who are helping you, do they also need to be tested? And Dr. Brown?
That's a really great question. That's something that we certainly will be providing some additional information on as well. So be on the lookout for that. There is a probability that we will go ahead and test those individuals. But understanding that if someone who is helping you, someone who you are riding in the same vehicle with, tests positive, that then exposes you in a way. And so we'll follow our stated protocols related to how we respond in those instances. But we'll provide you some detailed information prior to your arrival to give you a heads up as to whether we will test those individuals, but we also will be facilitating temperature taking as well during this process.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Brown. Next question is, how will we be able to get our room keys back? Also, if we did not have a roommate during the fall semester, is it possible for it to roll over into the spring?
Okay, you will receive your room keys back once you have gone through and provided your negative test result or garnered a negative test result from the testing that we facilitate, and you get to your residence hall. Then your community directors will check you in just as they did in the fall semester by providing you a key to your room. As it relates to having a roommate or not having a roommate in the spring semester, that really is based upon demand. And whether or not we actually have a student who has paid to be in a double space. If you have paid for a single, then you certainly will have a single, just as you did in the fall semester. But if you actually paid a double rate, meaning that your room is typically assigned for 2 people, then there's always a possibility you could end up with a roommate within your space. So there's no guarantee that you'll have a single if you have not paid for a single. It really is all based on what the need is as it relates to student demand.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. And to our listeners, these questions coming in are great questions. Keep asking us questions. We want to get your questions answered tonight. So please send us your questions. Again, the email address is Viking, no S, Viking Compass. And Compass is COMPASS at ECSU.edu. We want to answer any and every question you have. And thank you so much for those who have already submitted questions, because I think when questions come in, we provide remarks, it benefits everyone. So thank you so much for your questions. As we check to see if other questions are coming in, I would like to see if Dr. Brown or Dr. Ward have any last remarks or comments before we conclude our session as we wait to see if there are additional questions. And I'll start with Provost Ward. Any additional comments, closing remarks from you?
No, I just thank the students as well as the faculty for the resilience they demonstrated during the fall semester. I know that even the fall semester, and I anticipate even in the spring semester, was not as it was traditionally was in the past. And so I think that, I've asked our faculty to have patience and grace with our students. And I just asked the students to also give our faculty some grace, because we are all living through these unprecedented times. Faculty are dealing, some of them are having to homeschool their children, as well as students. I know that you too are dealing with things that, whether you're on campus or if you're taking the courses online. And so we will all get through this. Vikings are resilient. And so we will get through this spring semester, but just know that this is not a traditional semester. And so we will have to make some adjustments. And I know we will continue to move forward as only true Vikings do.
Thank you, Provost. And I'll just add to what she said to say that we all agree. We want you to come back in the spring semester. We want you to come back. We're looking forward to new students coming in to the spring semester. There's so much energy and momentum at Elizabeth City State University. It feels good. And I want you all to feel that same energy. And as she said, though these are unprecedented times, none of us have seen this before. So patience for each other and building this culture of expectation is what makes us successful and what's going to continue to make us successful. So Dr. Brown, if we can pause for a minute for your closing remarks, because we have 2 more questions that I see have come in. Okay, the next question is, if there's a class that is wait a minute, it's moving, sorry. If there's a class class that is a face-to-face class, but we want to take it online, is there a way to do so? Provost Ward?
There are two possible methods to take a face-to-face course online. Number one is you can take the course through the UNC Online Exchange Program. And what that means is that if we are not offering a course specifically for the spring semester online, but one of our sister UNC institution campuses is offering the course online, you may complete a transient study form, which can be found on the Academic Affairs website under Forms and Documents, and request to take the course at another UNC sister institution. So that's option one. The second option is if you have a documented situation, whether it's an illness or a documented need for an accommodation, you may submit a request to Ms. Felicia Brown at area code 252-335-3642. Again, that is Ms. Felicia Brown, and you may contact her at 252-335-3642. If she deems that your accommodation is valid and you have submitted the appropriate accommodation, then you will be able to get an accommodation. Now, that does not mean that the course would necessarily be transferred or offered in an online format. What it means is that the instructor would work with you one-on-one in order for you to make sure that you are actually getting the course material. So those are the two options that you have if a face-to-face course you would like to take it online. You can either go through UNC Online if it's offered at another institution and take it online, or if you have a documented case, you can get an accommodation, which not necessarily mean it would be online. It would just mean that the instructor would work with you one-on-one to give you appropriate accommodations.
Okay, thank you, Provost Ward. Our next question is, are incoming freshmen allowed to select a single room assignment? Dr. Brown?
Yes, if you are in the system and you are trying to select a room of your choosing, if that room is offered in a single, or if you want to pay the single rate and we are able to accommodate that request, then you certainly can do that. But singles are really offered based on availability within the residence hall.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I didn't realize I was on mute. Thank you. Our next question is for you as well, Dr. Brown. When will you find out your roommate's name?
So room assignments are actually being communicated daily as they are received after you pay your housing application fee, after you kind of make your room assignment, that sort of thing. And so housing staff should be able to provide you with an update as to whether or not you have a roommate, and if you do, who that roommate is. If you contact the Department of Housing and Residence Life, they should be able to communicate that to you. At the latest, you'll know that by January the 8th, the week of January the 8th is when we are communicating or sending out additional reminders about move-in. So please feel free to check in with housing to see if they can provide that information to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Brown. Here's an additional question. Will you be doing a graduation rehearsal? Dr. Ward?
We will not be doing a graduation rehearsal. Of course, the commencement exercises are this Saturday, December the 12th, at the Fine Arts Building. And so students should arrive during their allotted time. Once they enter, they will be given directions themselves as well as their guests. They'll proceed down the aisle in the Fine Arts Building. The student's name will be called, and then the student will be escorted to the stage to take a picture with the Chancellor, but there will not be a formal rehearsal for commencement.
Thank you so much, Provost Ward. And we're excited about this commencement opportunity for our graduates and their families, even though it's not ideal as how we would have liked to have done so. We were able to honor our May graduates during an August drive-through ceremony, and it worked quite well. We learned a lot from it. And so we're going to make some changes to the graduation this Saturday, but our students and their families seem to really appreciate how we were able to provide an opportunity to celebrate this milestone for our graduates and their families, despite the fact that we had restrictions during this pandemic. So looking forward to being able to do so again on Saturday. Thank you, Provost. Our next question is, when do we need to purchase a parking decal, or how long do we have until we get the opportunity to buy it? And I'm not sure, Dr. Brown, do you have some insight on that?
Sure. You should be able to search online now to connect with the University Police Department, so you might be able to purchase your parking decal. But typically, there's about a week's period at the beginning of every semester. There's kind of a grace period to give people an opportunity to resolve any sort of business that they need to take care of. And that's the time when a lot of people go ahead and purchase their parking decal. So I believe when you get here, you have the time to do that. You just want to make sure you do it within the first few days of being on campus so that you don't find yourself parking illegally and getting any sort of tickets.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Again, for those of you who may have just joined or didn't catch the email address, if you have questions, you can email us. We have about 15 more minutes, but we will conclude earlier if there are no other questions. But those who have questions, you can email us at Viking, no S, Viking Compass, COMPASS, at ECSU.edu. And for those of you who have submitted questions, thank you so much, because everyone's learning from the questions that you have submitted and the responses that you hear to those questions. So we want to make sure that we're answering as many as possible. So two more questions just came in. Well, actually, no, one more. Do students who anticipate graduating in spring of 2021 need to do anything to apply for graduation? Provost Ward?
Yes, students who wish to graduate in spring 2021 will need to submit their application for graduation. Their applications for graduation will be due on February 2nd, 2021. There is an approval process. Students will submit it electronically, but they will have to get approval from their advisor as well as their department chair and dean. So while the deadline is February 2nd, because it's submitted electronically, I encourage all students to please, do not wait to the actual last day to submit their applications. But students must submit an application for graduation in order to complete their degree in spring 2020.
Thank you, Provost. So I'll go to Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown, any closing remarks, comments that you would like to make to our students and their families?
Sure. Fall semester was a very different semester, but I think all of us would agree that there was quite a bit of innovation and creativity that we saw exhibited, not only in the administration, but across our student body. We saw overwhelming Viking spirit. You all turned out in record numbers virtually for programming, to involve yourselves in the voter engagement activities and those sort of things. And so we were really excited about the way in which your contributions to campus life were shown. And we really are looking forward to a spring semester where we can do the same thing. But in order to do that, we really need you all to make safe decisions, stay safe and stay well over this break. The CDC, the governors of all the states and health departments and so forth are talking about the surges in COVID-19 numbers. And they talk about this mitigation activities, the 3 W's and ensuring that you're not doing a lot of traveling and those sort of things. Please do your very best to adhere to those guidelines because they are the best way for us to keep each other safe. It's my hope and prayer that you all do remain safe and well over this break. I look forward to seeing you all again in spring semester after you have had some time to rest, and re-energize for what's ahead. And at the end of the day, it's always Viking pride. So thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown. And I definitely agree with you on those comments as well. And you and the provost, thank you for, and I commend you for your leadership and your teams and everything that you did to make sure that we were doing the right thing for our students and their families, as well as our faculty and our staff. So thank you so much. So there seems to be no other questions coming in. I'll check one last time. So if there are no other questions coming in, I want to thank everyone who joined us tonight for the virtual town hall. I want to thank my provost, Dr. Farrah Ward, my Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Dr. Karrie Brown, for providing such critical updates to our students and their families as they think about their transition back to campus in the spring. As guidelines and protocols are ever changing, and I mentioned this before, what we know today could change tomorrow, and what we know tomorrow could change next week. So as they are ever changing, it is important that we all stay on the same page. And with that in mind, we've created the Viking Compass website. That is our way of being transparent to all of our stakeholders, our parents, our students, faculty, staff, our community members, our friends of ECSU, everyone who wants to know what's happening on our campus in regards to our efforts to minimize the spread of COVID. The Viking Compass website has information there for you to see specifically. On that website, we also have a database that shows the number of active cases, number of students who were in isolation or quarantine. All that information is there. We have nothing to hide. We want everyone to be informed. So go to that website and you'll see everything that's happening and be able to ask any additional questions if something is not there that you're looking for. But as we continue to update the website, we are looking to do all we can to inform our community, to help us navigate the changes that may occur, anticipated and unanticipated during the spring semester. We also plan to use social media and emails to provide updates to the Viking community. So what does that mean? Check your email, check your social media, because there's so much uncertainty, as you've heard a number of times tonight. Anything can change at any time. And if we need to get in touch with you about any changes in regards to in coming back in the spring semester, we want to make sure we get that to you ASAP. We want to make sure we get that to you and get that to you as quickly as possible so that you are well aware of any changes we have to make. So please check your social media, please check your emails, and we may have to have a called meeting like this again if we have to pivot or if we have some other changes that may take place. So 2020 has been a year for the record books. And if you're like me, I'm ready for 2021. We have faced many challenges. However, in true Viking fashion, as you've heard so many times, we are resilient and we have conquered those challenges for the fall semester. As we celebrate another successful semester, we want to thank you for your Viking spirit and your Viking pride. And don't forget, Fridays, still wear your Viking paraphernalia on Fridays, because those are still our Viking Pride Fridays that we want to celebrate our campus community and our great university. I hope everyone has a blessed and very safe holiday break, and we look forward to seeing you at Elizabeth City State University in January 2021 as we celebrate the new year. So thank you again, and you all have a wonderful night.